Good morning, friends. This is Sam. I'm so happy to see you over here at Harvey Cat Homestead. We are working on getting these onions that we harvested yesterday, these guys, into a situation where they can cure. So I went to Walmart yesterday and I was like racking my brain trying to figure out what I could do. And I walked all over that place and I found this little laundry cart thing. So I've actually already got one of these that I'm using inside as a laundry cart. This we're going to use, obviously, in a different way. So I'm going to show you exactly how I'm going to use this. I am going to go to the shed and grab a couple of sawhorses, and I'm going to sit them on those instead of using this 3-tier situation. I just know there's not going to be enough room between the tiers. So let me get the rest of my, let me go grab the sawhorses and I will open this up and I'm going to show you exactly how we can use this to dry onions. So these are literally the cheapest little Harbor Freight sawhorses that you can buy. I got them when I was building the rabbitry and they pretty much broke immediately. So we are going to set these up over here. Now I know this isn't perfectly ideal because the sun is able to hit these, or they will be able to hit the onions, but I don't have our root cellar yet. We have continued to talk several times about building a root cellar. That would be a good place for these in terms of curing, but alas, that may not work out because we found out this week, well, I guess it was a couple weeks ago, we did find out that our soil, one, it's common for land to not perk around here, and a lot of times if your land does perk in terms of like doing a well test or drainage test, it's a drainage test, but it's the same people who do the well stuff. If they basically come dig a hole and see if the water comes through it in an acceptable amount of time. So the drainage isn't great around here. Our soil's very rocky. It's very clayey, and so it's not orange clay. So I'm grateful for that in terms of gardening. But at the same time, it may prevent us from actually building a root cellar. But, you know, that's okay. We don't have to have a root cellar. We will figure out a way around it, and that is okay. All right, let me get to opening this up and showing you exactly how I get the onions situated. All right, let's get this guy opened up. I'm sorry I keep shifting around. The sun's up and it's so hot. It's already like in the 90s. So this is my little laundry cart situation. This was $18 something at Walmart, which is a lot cheaper than $36 for a cattle panel, which the cattle panel is not, a cattle panel won't work. Let me tell you why. You need a narrow space between the bars here so that you can so the onions will stay up. So a cattle panel, the spacing is too wide. You would have to get something like a hog panel, which is obviously is closer together. Those wires are closer together and they work better for holding onions up. So I'm just cutting apart these ties and stuff that are holding everything together. Getting this out of the package. I think I will move you so that you can see a little better. But for now, I think we're going to move again here in just a second anyway. So I just walked down to the greenhouse. It was 110 in there already. So let me just, that's not even the right one. We're going to do this morning. There you go. Just slide you that way. It's like an unboxing video. Isn't that fun? I can't quite tell what's attached and what isn't. I know these wheels are zip tied in here. Ooh, ow. Kind of punched the metal there. That didn't feel good. So I'm not going to use these little casters I don't know that they're good for much anyway. They're pretty puny. So essentially what we have is 4, it looks like, of these middle guys. I'm already, sweat's pouring off of me, y'all. Stay hydrated, stay cool. This 97 degrees for the day is just, it's getting old, and it starts as soon as the sun's up. Actually, it starts before the sun's up. If I absolutely had to, I feel like I could run some wire that I already have between these and use those as a frame as well. But we're going to get our trash all in the same place. So I'm setting those over here. These baskets are all going to come with me. And then this will go inside into the trash can. It's just our little pile of plastic stuff. All right, let's go over here and get these loaded up. So as you may can see, we are under our carport. These I'm going to put face down between these. I'm really hoping that they'll actually fit. Really, really hoping that they will actually fit. I may have to figure out some other, even this isn't working. Go figure. So the sawhorse, the sawhorse idea may not work great because they're too far apart. I'm hoping this will stay stable enough. Well, you guys really are just along on the adventure of me not knowing what the heck I'm doing. Okay, that'll work for 2. This will hold 2. Maybe. It didn't want to hold that one. That one's like more narrow, I guess. Okay. All right, so we are just going to start sliding our onions into these, leaving the green all the way down. And I'm going to kind of separate as I go, because if you watched our earlier onion harvesting video, you know a lot of them are too small to use. And again, that is just fine. But I'm going to go ahead and zoom through this so that you don't have to worry too much about sitting and waiting and watching. We'll fast forward for you. So it'll be like in double time. I wish I could really do it in double time, because holy cow, maybe that would help me stay cool. Anyway, let's get at it. All right. That one's really too small. This one's like right on the borderline. As you're putting these in here, you definitely want to make sure that there's enough space around them. And you kind of want to make sure that as you're going, you're doing it a bit evenly, because it is possible to sort of get to the end of this and everything be really wonky. And if you're like me, you want things to look nice too. You don't want them to just do the job. I'm a bit of a perfectionist, and you know, that's a problem, and I'm working on it. But that's all right. And these are a little bit close. If you had larger onions, this wouldn't work. This just straight up would not work. But for our little baby harvest, for something temporary and affordable, which is how homesteading goes, honestly, I think, is you've got to be honest with yourself about what you can get away with financially. I only work part-time, which is why I'm able to be here with you sharing all of this. And that affords me the time to do what I do, but it does not afford me the monies and the funds with which to do what I do. I kind of separate it out. Larger ones. Many times as homesteaders, what we are doing is seeing if something will work. And what we do is we learn the hard way whether it will or whether it won't, which makes things interesting. Which is why I think a lot of people on YouTube watch. Which is why I started watching, is I was trying to do these things, and I was learning that my methods may not be the most ideal. And so I was trying to learn from what others have done. And, you know, you pick up a little here and there, you sit down a little here and there. So I do, in terms of gardening, actually have a 2-year degree in landscape gardening, which from Sandhills Community College in Pinehurst, North Carolina. And it's a very hands-on program. They get you in, there's 42 acres of gardens on site, and the students are responsible for caring for it. And so it's intense. It's definitely one of those, this is like a job kind of situations. And not everyone's as driven as me, so the program does kind of weed out people. But if you're wanting to learn the basics of this kind of thing, they do offer just a vegetable gardening class, fruit and vegetable production class. But honestly, there's so many of those basic skills that apply to gardening that it's quite the worthy investment, I would say. Now, again, as I'm putting these in here, I'm trying to leave space. Goodness. All right. Well, as I said, sometimes we learn the hard way. I had a bad feeling about these sawhorses. Most of them are still in there. It's the really heavy ones that aren't. Go figure. Oh, me. You see what I did? It fell down. So I'm going to take a quick break, and I'm going to reassess and see if there is something better that I have here that will work instead of these slippery little sawhorses. All right, I think I figured it out. So these things, I've got them up against our grill. I feel bad for fussing at Michael for so long about getting rid of it because we never use it, because now I really need it. So this will hang out right here. I may have to do this one in the other orientation for stability's sake. Yeah. Okay, back at it. I did go inside and grab this little box for our little baby ones just so I can grab them and run with them quickly. I'm thinking this is going to work a lot better because it's actually inserted along this shelf. So I've done the same thing on the other side too. Now this neck is not broken. As I've mentioned in our harvesting video, the neck really needs to be broken because honestly, you're just cheating yourself out of a little bit of growth otherwise, but I needed the space. So, all right, fast forward time.
So I should apologize because I told you I was going to fast forward through the other portion, but I didn't because I just wanted to continue to talk to you. I had some things that I felt like you should know. Also, it is very awkward to re-watch this and listen to myself breathing so heavily. I was clearly struggling. Granted, it was in the 90s already and the sun had just come up, so it was doggone summertime. That's North Carolina. That is central North Carolina for you in late June. You will have that. But I'm glad you got to see me experiencing life because that is how we learn. Look, if you can't laugh at yourself when you're doing things like this, then you're just gonna cry. So that is one useful piece of advice that I have for you. If you take nothing else away from this video in terms of caring for onions or curing them, then please take that away. I will say this is probably better than a lot of people have in terms of setting onions up to dry because it's hot enough outside and they're out of the rain. Like as long as they're not going to get rained on or water on them in any way, they'll do fine. They will do better in shade, and as I've mentioned earlier, this space does have shade. It only has shade in the afternoon, which is the most important. Like, there's sun hitting it while we're recording here, but it's really only morning sunlight. And that's really not that big of a problem as long as they stay dry. So those high temperatures will actually help them to cure faster, which is great because the faster they cure, the less likely they are to mold.
All right, that's all of our red onions. We've got quite a few to go inside to be processed in that little box down there. But now we get to do the same on this other side over here with the white onions. So let me find a good spot for you. So as I'm editing this, the software that I am using only allows me to speed it up to double time, which means I'm probably going to cut out some of this because holy cow, you don't need to watch me cram all these onions in here. But while I have a little bit of time, let me tell you about the differences between onion varieties. Mostly, like the most important thing that you need to know if you are going to grow onions is the difference between long day and short day onions. These, I have no idea what they are because in terms of purchasing sets, I just got these from my local box store, which means they didn't give me a variety name. All they did was, it just said onion. It said red onion, it said yellow onion, and that doesn't tell you if they're long day or short day. The reason this is important is the amount of sunlight hours actually will trigger the growth of the bulbs. So that may actually be another reason that these are smaller. If you are in the South, I'm not exactly sure where the line is. All I know is that in the South, you need short day onions because our temperatures require us to grow onions in through the winter. So I don't know if these are short day or long day, but that's what whenever you're actually ordering, you can still order sets, but if you're ordering sets from somewhere, I would recommend at least knowing if they're long day or short day. I plan on doing seeds this year and I plan on starting them inside in September, and I will be doing short day onions. I have not chosen my varieties yet, but the one negative with short day onions is that they do not store as well as long day onions. There's not a ton you can do in terms of helping that, but that is something really important to know if you are growing onions. So I didn't want to leave you hanging on that. I am going to skip through a bit of this because it's just meaningless repetition. All right, back to it, friends. All right, and there you have it, folks. That is the kind of redneckish way to cure onions. Again, these would be much better in the shade. I could pop up a shade cloth right here if I had the means to. I kind of honestly don't. But I'm also gonna hope that Michael doesn't want to use his grill anytime soon. That's all right. He's not a big griller anyway. Man, if it was my stepdad, he'd have a conniption. I think he smokes meat every day. Anyway, like I said, not 100% ideal, but it will work. This will work for you. If you don't have the means to go buy a hog panel, excuse me. I keep saying cattle panel. It's just because I talk about cattle panels all the time. If you don't have the means to get a hog panel, this will work. I will say the convenient part about this is that you can move these around pretty easily, even if they are full. And then the rabbit cage works really well too if you've got anything, or maybe an old dog crate sitting around. You don't have to spend a ton of money to do this. That is the biggest thing I'm trying to share with you guys today, is you can garden, you can do the things without breaking the bank. And this, you're gonna be able to reuse these thousands of times as long as you keep them clean and store them out of the rain. And that'll be just great. So thank you for joining me. I need to go cool off now. Of course I had to do that in the sun. Real smart, huh? But shade feels good. I'm very great. There's a little bit of a breeze right now. I'm very, very, very grateful for that breeze. Now I'm gonna go in and work out, get nice and hot and sweaty, double time. So thanks for joining me so that you could learn a little bit about how us rednecks out here actually handle curing onions if we don't have the proper location to do so. I hope you have an absolutely beautiful day, and I hope to see you again soon. Thanks for tuning in. Bye.